What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 34 of the Yard Podcast. I'm your host, Randy.
And I'm your host, Conan.
And we have a ton of stuff to get to today, way more than usual. So I'm going to jump right into it, and we'll do all of our social stuff at the end for you guys. You know it by now. But first things first, Mookie Betts keeps doing what he does best, and that's winning awards. He was named to the All-MLB team first team, and he was actually named the winner of CC Sabathia's 2020 Legacy Award winner for everything he's done in the community. So
that's what it was.
Yeah, so Mookie is just killing it everywhere in the community on the baseball field. So wanted to give a big congratulations to him. And then Seager and Kershaw were also named to the All-MLB second team. So 4 Dodgers were finalists, Turner being one, and 3 of them made it. So not that surprising there. We found out last week that Clayton McCullough will be named the new first base coach since George Lombard's departure. This will be his 7th year in the organization and his first year at the big league level. He served as the Dodgers minor league field coordinator and helped oversee the alternate training site at USC last season. And the rest of the coaching staff will remain the same. Someone else who got promoted up in the Dodgers organization, you might not know her name, but she's very important. Janet Marie Smith. She was promoted to the executive vice president of planning and development. She's been basically a big reason why the Dodgers have the new stadium that they have. Granted, we haven't been able to see it, but she was really the one who pushed all of that to happen. And she's actually the person who's responsible for the design and construction of Camden Yards, which is known as being one of the most beautiful stadiums in baseball, and helped with the renovations at Fenway Park. So just want to give a shout out to her because I know we've done a couple article pieces on the renovations going on, and she's a huge part of that. Next thing I want to go over really quickly, which I don't think we really have opinions on, but it's the Dodger world. Everyone knows, I think, how we feel at this point. But Kike posted a new profile picture last week that stirred up the fan base. So it was the same picture he had as before in his profile picture. However, the hat is now black, and instead of an LA on top of it, it's a question mark. So Kike is obviously kind of putting it out there. He doesn't know what team he's going to be on. I don't think the Dodgers they might be showing interest. I don't know. It seems weird to me, though, that he would change that without, I don't know.
I think they are showing at least some. They want to make sure to keep tabs on at least everybody.
Yeah, no, they're probably keeping tabs, but from what I read, or maybe you told me, I don't remember, but Kike's looking for a full-time, basically, job. So I don't see him coming back to LA. He wants.
Well, won't be here.
Yeah, I don't blame the guy. He wants what he wants. So yeah. maybe he'll get it in Minnesota. But
so I am interested to see what other teams are interested in him besides the Twins. I feel like it should be quite a bit because he's relatively inexpensive utility man who usually hits lefties well and plays good defense no matter what. So I feel like there should be a pretty good market for him.
Yeah, I agree. A super utility, any team can use it. Right-handed bat. I feel like there's some, but I feel like there's quite a few lefties on the open market this year, but I'm sure he'll get his deal at the end of the day. I just want to see players get the money because I don't care about these billionaire owners lining their pockets. Give the money to the players, let them do their thing. So we'll see what happens with Kike. A couple other players, good news for them. Dustin May. Seems like week after week I feel like we're doing this, but we had another engagement. So congratulations to Dustin May and his fiance Millie on their engagement. Dustin May got his whole cowboy outfit on, everything, and he proposed to her. So we got a lot of Dodgers getting engaged, getting married. I want to say Will Smith's wedding's coming up sometime in the next week or two. Seager had his, Gratterall proposed. So this happens every offseason, I feel like. So congratulations to Dustin, his fiance. Now into more of the actual baseball stuff. Walker Buehler is there's maybe 10, 15 players that are eligible. That is a Super 2. So basically, Super 2 it's a designation that allows, this is from the MLB glossary. It's a designation that allows a select group of players to become eligible for arbitration before reaching 3 years of service time. So if you remember, Buehler came up at the end of 2017, and because he accrued service time the way he did, if you earn more than 2 years of service time, or it's actually 2 years and at least 130 days of service time, you will now go into arbitration instead of another year of team control. It's the same thing Urias did this year. There's not too many players that ever actually hit it. Like I said, maybe 10 a season, because it's weird service time manipulation, whatever you want to call it. However, the Dodgers will have to pay Buehler more because of this, because it is arbitration. So instead of him making close to league minimum or league minimum, he's now estimated to make about 2.7 million in 2021. So it's not a lot.
Still a bargain.
Yeah, it's not a lot when you look at what he's capable of, what he's done, and not to mention just how good he is. So yeah, just update on that. And then we did see quite a few minor league deals. I'm assuming you don't have much to say about this, because a lot of them, 3 of them are former Dodgers. I was just going to go over really quickly.
I had quite a bit. I was going to go over Morrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool. Let me give the basics on them, and then you can go a little bit deeper. So the Dodgers agreed to minor league deals with Brandon Morrow, Brock Stewart, Jimmy Nelson, all right-handed pitchers, and then left-handed pitcher James Pazos, and then infielder Carlos Asuaje. As of now, just so everybody knows, none of these players will take up a spot on the 40-man roster because it is a minor league deal. I know there's a lot of people that see these deals and stress out and is like, what are the Dodgers doing? But it doesn't take up a roster spot, and they cost basically nothing. So think of this as another Andrew Friedman kind of dumpster dive thing, trying to make things work, and he's done great with it so far. Morrow, he hasn't returned to form since he was with the Dodgers in 2017, got hurt with the Cubs. He got a major contract. It was like 2 years, 20 million, something like that, but he just never panned out there. Brock Stewart was selected off waivers in July 2019 by the Blue Jays from the Dodgers. Cubs picked him up in the Rule 5 draft from Toronto, and he was released in May of 2020. Nothing going for him. We all know Jimmy Nelson signed with the Dodgers in 2020, had back surgery, missed the entire season. Looks like they want to give him another chance. Pazos is 29. He only threw 5.1 innings this year for the Rockies, and he had a 16.88 ERA. Don't know if that was in Coors. You never know what can happen there. But and Asuaje, second baseman who bats lefty. He hasn't played in the big leagues since 2018. He's also 29, and ironically, I looked it up. The last game he played in the big leagues was against the Dodgers. So those are all the guys. Now, if you want to give your thoughts on them.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, so we've been talking about how Friedman wants to kind of change the bullpen a little bit, throw in some different looks with some four-seamers, and Morrow is that he does a four-seam cutter and slider. Also, Jimmy Nelson is mostly sinker curve, but prior to last year before he signed, I remember seeing some of the smarter people on Dodgers Twitter, like Future Dodgers, and I think his name is Eccentric Laddie, were saying that Nelson has a potentially really good four-seam fastball if they use it more, and the Dodgers changing his mix could make him benefit him more. Obviously, old friend Brock Stewart is yet another four-seam guy who also throws a changeup and slider. So I feel like these are low-risk signings. We've seen Morrow when healthy in 2017 was really, really good. I think Nelson has some upside potential out of the pen, and James Pazos, as you mentioned, only pitched 5 innings in 2020. They weren't good, but in the previous 3 years, he pitched 114 innings with 120 strikeouts, 45 walks, and an average ERA of 2.83, 9.2 strikeouts per 9, and 3.4 walks per 9. So he needs to cut down the walks.
But I have a question.
Oh yeah, go
for
ahead.
You. Do you know if he's a starter?
He's a reliever.
Okay, I was going to say based on innings. Okay, that sounds right. Sorry, go ahead. I was just curious.
Yeah. So he's a reliever. He's a heavy four-seam fastball pitcher with a slider combo. His fastball only touches 92 miles per hour, but as the previous 3 years have shown, he's been pretty solid while using it. So I think the Dodgers do what they did best, or Friedman does best, and that's add pitchers who have struggled but provide some upside. And we know that Friedman loves those kind of players.
Yep, he does. And you know what? If they're not taking up a spot on the 40-man and they're not costing us much, I don't really care. We have guys.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say we've had guys like Max Muncy, Chris Taylor, sign him on a minor league deal, and they
Justin Turner.
Yeah, they end up being a huge part of the team. So I'm at the point, especially since we won the World Series, I'm not questioning Andrew Friedman. I'm going to let that man do. He got us Mookie Betts for 12 years. Now just extend Corey Seager, and I'll leave you alone. I won't ask for anything more. That's all we need.
So before we move on, I did want to bring up that I saw an article on Dodger Blue, and they had an interview with Andrew Friedman. He was talking to Jorge Castillo. He said the Dodgers are focusing on the bullpen. That's their main part. And In the article, there's also a link to another Freeman interview where he says the Dodgers are only going to be focused on second tier relief pitching. So I guess that means no Liam Hendricks, which sucks. But then again, Liam Hendricks wants a 4-year deal, and the Dodgers just aren't going to do that because they're not ones that typically do that. They have given a 5-year deal to Jansen, and it's been a nightmare since.
And
They
that
gave a
3-year, yeah, Joe
to
Kelly.
Joe Kelly. It's been superly mixed, so I could understand their hesitancy on doing those deals, especially when relievers have proven to be volatile.
Yeah, relievers are kind of hit and miss. You can have one great season, and they can come out the next, and you really don't know what you're going to get. So I'm all with it. Sticking in minor leagues, we did have the Rule 5 draft last week. 8 Dodgers were selected from other clubs, so they're no longer on the team. If you want to go over those names just super quickly, okay. And then.
So pitchers: Brett DeGuys, Jordan Sheffield, Chase Fitzbarth, Tyler Gilbert, and then position players: Earl Robinson, Drew Jackson, Marcus Chu, and Chris Roller were all selected by other teams. And the Dodgers added 2 players, Ryan January and Romir Bolivar. So Ryan January is a catcher who he was an 8th round pick from the Diamondbacks. The highest he's reached is single A. Scouts feel like he's got some offensive potential, but he struggles behind the plate. Sounds kind of like the Dodgers draft pick this year in Carson Taylor, who also has offensive upside but struggles behind the plate. So it's clear the Dodgers like to add catchers, but recently they've added a few that don't provide the most important part, which is catching. And then Romir Bolivar is an outfielder who signed with the Rays. He's only played in the Dominican Summer League. He doesn't strike out a ton, but also doesn't walk a lot. In this past season in Dominican Summer League, he hit .323 with a .471 on-base percentage and a .699 OPS. Those are all his career highs. He also added in 15 stolen bases. Really hasn't registered as being a good defender as of yet. I think the Dodgers probably like his speed and gap profile, kind of like what they liked from 4th round pick Jake Vogel, his speed and the ability to find gaps.
So cool. Lost quite a few players, which is a bummer, but hey, if they're not going to get the chance to play in LA, let them go play somewhere else. Not to mention it does open up quite a few spots for us on our roster for them to do what they need to do. But sticking in the minor leagues, one last thing, we have talked about the affiliations lately. The Dodgers announced that they have extended invitations to the OKC Dodgers, Tulsa Drillers, the Great Lake Loons, and Rancho Cucamonga Quakes to return as their MILB affiliates in 2021. So we do get
the Loons and the Quakes switched, right?
Yeah, so the Loons will now be high A and Rancho Cucamonga will now be low A. So that will be the only difference, as well as we no longer have Ogden Raptors, which I believe was like the rookie ball, really low A team. So next thing we were going to talk about was Liam Hendricks, but now that we know Andrew Friedman wants a second tier, and the 4-year deal, I don't think we have much to talk about there. Next up, though, you text this to me. So do you want to present this trade proposal?
So I saw a trade proposal for Kris Bryant, and it was Kris Bryant to the Dodgers for Keiber Ruiz, Zach McKinstry, and Andre Jackson. What are your thoughts?
I say you make the trade. And I don't really think there can be much hesitation there either. It sucks to lose Ruiz. However, with the depth they have, knowing Cartea is not much younger than him, maybe only 2 years behind him, he's going to come up. Ruiz is a number 2 prospect. McKinstry's our 18th, and Andre Jackson's our 27th. I know a lot of people will look at Kris Bryant's numbers. However, if you look at 2015, 2019, that dude he was hitting over 270 every single season. The issue was his health. However, that was only in 2018. So I just can't look at him and look at our need for, first of all, a right-handed bat, and secondly, a third baseman, and a younger third baseman that could probably not stay there because we have Hosey, but can at least get us, what's he have? One more, is he a rental?
Yeah, 1 more year.
Yeah, so to me, I don't think that's horrible. He plays some left field too, right? Couldn't they always try to extend him? Yeah, so he doesn't necessarily have to be a rental. But yeah, I say you pull the trigger, and I don't really think there's much hesitation.
Okay, so great points. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
All right.
But for me, initially, this seemed to almost kind of mirror the Betts trade with a top prospect. Now, obviously, Verdugo wasn't a prospect because he had lost his prospect status, but he was once a top prospect. Ruiz is now the number 2 prospect. And then you add in one prospect with upside, which was Downs. And for this trade, it's Jackson, because we know the Dodgers seem to love Jackson because they, added him to the 40-man roster to protect him from the draft. And then kind of a middling prospect. McKinstry's 18, but I think he's been between 30 and 18 for a while now. And Connor Wong was kind of middling as a prospect as well. So, um, I don't do it just for the fact that now I know you said Kris Bryant hasn't missed much time since 2018, where he missed a lot of time, but he does have still those injuries like Justin Turner has. He never misses a full year, but he misses a good chunk of time.
Yeah.
So he only has 1 year left. Obviously, the Dodgers did this last year with Betts, but I feel like that was necessary to try to win a World Series, which they did. Plus, again, they extended before the season started, and I think that's highly unlikely with Bryant. Bryant will definitely test the market, and the Dodgers aren't as desperate as they are last year. They don't need to win the World Series; they just won one, so I can see them holding off. However, if a trade does materialize, it wouldn't shock me if it looks something similar to this.
Yeah, if it weren't to happen, I'm not going to say I'd be upset or anything. I took a little closer look.
I wanted Kris Bryant last year after Betts.
Yeah, I remember. I think hearing some people still talk about that. I mean, yeah,
I think I even wrote about it.
He has a couple seasons where like he didn't play the whole season, but for the most part, he's in there. And he's a pretty good hitter. He's been an all-star 3 times. So, and he's done more than that. But his projections, where is it? Oh, there it is.
When did he win MVP? 18?
It was 16. Yeah, 16. So his year after rookie, he won Rookie of the Year in 15, and he was MVP in 16.
He's older than I thought he was. Yeah, that makes sense.
And he finished in 7th in MVP voting the year after. So next year would be his 29-year-old season. But yeah, no, I could see them holding off because, like you said, it's different. It's the same thing that when you look at it, had the Dodgers won the World Series in 2019, Mookie Betts is probably not a Dodger. It's one of those things that there was more pressure for Friedman to make a big trade because we needed that player that could put us over the edge, and Betts was looked at and was that player that helped put us over the edge. Without him, there's a very good argument that we don't win the World Series. So if we win in 2019, maybe we don't have Mookie. Obviously, I have no idea, but I could see them doing that same thing with Kris Bryant, where they're like, let's hold on to our younger guys. We might want to use them, trade them for someone else instead of a rental. But yeah, I'd be willing to do it, see what happens. We need a third baseman. Justin Turner's asking for 3 years, and I just can't. I can't do it. The business side of me just doesn't want to see that happen. So I don't know. I'd take Kris Bryant. And I know a lot of fans don't want to hear that. I'm sorry, but
I completely missed that Justin Turner asked for 3 years. If that's the case, I mean, I didn't want you back to begin with, but yeah, no.
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry.
I think I was surprised by how many fans said that. I put it out on Dodger Yard and I asked, and it came out on MLB Trade Rumors. And I was super, super surprised that so many fans were like, no, you got to let him walk. Like, no, like it wasn't even like a hesitation. Like, I don't know if it's a good idea. There was a lot of no, let him walk. This isn't even a discussion. And I think the problem is the age and it's not even the fact that it's a DH. It's just the fact that in 3 years, the argument that I'm seeing is, what if there's a DH in 3 years he can DH? Sure, he could. But at 39 years old, is he really going to be our best option as DH? And that's my thing, is do you really do that? My thing is, if you want to bring him back, there's got to be an option in there. I don't know, or a 2-year and he's not making that much money. I don't know. The Dodgers did it with Chase Utley, but Chase Utley, I think, got like $1 million. Turner's not going to take $1 million 1-year contract. So
he's been a better player than that, to be fair.
Yeah, especially in his later years. So we'll see what happens. I know the Blue Jays still show interest, which in my opinion seems like a fantastic fit. He would be great for all those young players there and could probably really help that team put stuff together. And not to mention he would be with Stripling and Ryu, so there's that familiarity there. But
forgot Stripling was there.
Yeah, but so that's it for Kris Bryant. Another trade I know you wanted to discuss. I threw it up on Twitter, so I'm gonna say this from the beginning. He presented some trades, and he acknowledged that they sound pretty crazy and that they were for the creative mind. and that they probably don't happen, but we still wanted to discuss them because it was put up on Twitter and people were talking about it. So there's two scenarios. The first one is the Dodgers don't re-sign Turner and instead sign JT Realmuto and take Will Smith and put him at third. And the other one was trading for Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story from the Rockies and trading Seager to the Rockies or trading elsewhere. I'm going to let you go first because I already put my opinions all over Twitter, so you can go first.
So Ken had some wild, interesting ideas, to say the least. I saw some responses on Twitter. Didn't seem like people were too happy about it. But for the Realmuto one, it makes some kind of like semblance of sense, just because like
he's a good catcher.
he's
He's a good hitter, but he's a good catcher.
Right. And so it makes some sense. But before I even get to that, I even thought that because the Dodgers are willing to try anything, I thought there was a chance that they might move Muncy to second and trade for a first baseman like a Josh Bell or Rhys Hoskins. Now, obviously, the Phillies have hired a new GM, so the Rhys Hoskins things went out the window. But before that, I was thinking that might be a possibility. But again, Realmuto makes sense. I think for 3 years now, he's been considered the best catcher in baseball. Actually, a White Sox reporter posted a chart to show how catchers were in previous years, and Realmuto was better by a wide margin, followed by Grandal. And they're both up at the top because they're both good offensively and defensively. He's a solid enough play caller. He blocks the plate well, and he's obviously the best offensive catcher. And this would allow the Dodgers to be able to keep Smith's bat in the lineup while also upgrading at catcher. Will this happen? No, probably not. But have the Dodgers consider this? I'm willing to bet there's been some conversations and they've looked deeper into it, the possibility.
Yeah. That one, my only thing is like at that point, if you're gonna sign JT Realmuto, like could the money go elsewhere? Like couldn't you just extend Seager and worry about Buehler at that point instead of making that commitment? And if you want Will Smith to play third, like give Ruiz his chance. Call Ruiz up and let him catch out there with Barnes, and let's do that. I am a little bit more. That one I see is way less likely. I don't see the Dodgers necessarily trading for Trevor Story. I also don't think the Rockies would want to give away Arenado and Story in the NL West, let alone to the Dodgers. But I did find this one a little bit more interesting, that this one had a little bit more to it. They didn't mention what would be going to Colorado as for the rookies, not rookies, for the Rockies from our minor leagues. I would assume it would be quite a haul, even for 1 year of Seager, unless they do a 3-team trade and another team comes in and Seager goes to a team and they give prospects to the Rockies. But what was your thoughts on the Arenado and Story trade?
So the Arenado Story thing, I didn't know it was both of them together. I thought it was one or the other.
No. Yeah, it was both.
So I kind of broke it up. But I mean, we've talked about Arenado enough. I think that makes all the sense in the world. And I've long believed that Arenado is the player the Dodgers have wanted the most. Now, of course, as with all Rocky players, you kind of have to keep an eye out because of their splits are pretty bad. But the Dodgers are always still the Dodgers know about the splits. They know about everything. So my guess is they see something in Arenado that they can adjust or tweak to get him to be a top 5 player in baseball.
Yeah, and I mean Arenado, prior to kind of Tatis Jr. coming into the league, that was kind of like my favorite. I like the guy a lot. That was my favorite player out, like that wasn't a Dodger. I wouldn't mind coming here. The thing that bugged me though was the trade Seager. Like I can't justify trading Corey Seager. I can't justify not getting him to an extension, not signing him. When he is healthy, he's pretty much the best hitting shortstop in baseball when he's healthy. And when you can argue he's one of the better hitters. I'm not going to say the best, but he can hit. The dude can hit, and he can hit up there with the best of them, minus a lot of that power. And he still puts up decent power numbers, 20, 25 home runs a year when he's healthy. And so that's what killed me, was the idea of trading Seager, because Trevor Story's fantastic. He's very, very good himself as well. And he's a very good shortstop too. He's much better defensively than Seager. So yeah, that one was hard.
I think that was the most interesting idea to me, because last year people were saying maybe trade Corey Seager, but after the year he had in the playoff run he had, haven't seen any Corey Seager trade rumors pop up. So this was the most interesting thing to me. I don't necessarily agree, but again, to play devil's advocate and get a conversation going, I think there's a conversation that might need to be had. Now, Corey's had a few injury-riddled years, and even this year, he still missed some time with injuries. His value is probably sky high right now. So do you trade Seager and get some pieces back and then go get Story, someone who's likely to play more games than Seager is? Um, like you mentioned, Seager's better offensively. There's no question about that. But Story has been the more valuable player so far in his career because for the most part he's been available. He's really good at stealing. He runs the bases well, and he's like you mentioned, he's way better on defense. He's got a strong arm, and he's got better range than Corey Seager does. Now, this obviously probably won't happen, but I think it should be considered. I think the main issue is that they're both free agents at the same time, and it's a lot easier to keep Seager and re-sign him. You probably have a better chance of signing Seager long term than you do Trevor Story. But so I don't think it's as inconceivable as some people are making it out to be. I love Corey Seager, but I'm also a really big fan of Trevor Story.
Yeah, Trevor Story's pretty big. He's great. He's fantastic. I don't want to take that away from him at all, but it's the Corey Seager thing that kills me. I know. 1 year, I know he's been hurt, and I know he's been. I don't want to say healthy, but
so I guess the Dodgers think would be: do we really trust him to stay healthy, or was just one lucky short season? Let's trade him for all we can right now. That could be the Dodgers thinking. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they'll try to re-sign him, but again, just for another opinion or option.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the thought process. The thing that I feel good about with his injuries is they're not really injuries that you're gonna get again, really. Like the hip surgery, Tommy John is a shortstop. They're not really like reoccurring.
What was his injury this year? His hamstring?
Yeah, that's like a Dodger thing, though. I swear to God, every Dodger has some problem with hamstrings year after year. It was Kemp, it was Puig. I don't know what goes on in this organization in hamstrings, but he was out for like a month too. So that was not a good one. So I don't know.
If he was lucky, they were able to have a DH. Otherwise, he would have missed a lot more games than just 8.
Yeah, that too. So that was huge there. I'm trying to look up. I've showed it to you that trade page, the trade simulator, to kind of see who's valued as what. So I found out what it meant, what those numbers meant. Basically, what happens is. Oh man. Okay. So basically the dollars they're worth that much more than what they're going to get paid over the next year. So over the next year, Seager's worth like about 39 million more than he's actually going to get paid just based on his production numbers. I don't know how much you can actually go off of this, but just to put that into perspective, Nolan Arenado is negative 43.7 because that's how massive his contract is. And Trevor Story's 33.7. So the total value on this website, which again, I don't know how much you can go off this because it seems wrong to me, but the total value wise, money wise, would be negative 10 for the Dodgers and then positive 39 for the Rockies. So the Rockies are blowing the Dodgers out value wise. But again, this is with Seager hitting arbitration, not making the type of money he would make, because once he's making that 20, whatever it is he's making a year, he's not going to be worth 39 million more because he's starting to make that money. So I think that's how it works a little bit. Either way, the value here.
I just think that Arenado and Story are going to massively outproduce just Seager by himself.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that kind of was weird to me that this said negative 43 for Arenado. I get it. His contract's wild.
I get he has contracts.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's bad, but
it's a lot, but I still think he's going to produce. I know there are some people, not like experts or anything, just to talk on Twitter. There are some people that are a little bit worried about how he's going to age, the type of hitter he is. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about that. Just a conversation that I see on Twitter. So it'll be interesting. The Dodgers.
He's a power hitter, so he should age fine.
Yeah,
I think a lot of power hitters can go till they're almost 40. Yeah. Look at Nelson Cruz, 42.
Yeah, no kidding. And as far as I know he's never had any like crazy injuries. He's been out here and there. Like we've seen the Dodgers go to Colorado and he may miss a game or two, but I've never seen him like on an extended IL stint. So
Right.
the Dodgers really don't have to do much. They should. They don't have to. So it's kind of all just dependent on what Friedman thinks will work. They're not going to overpay for anybody because they don't have to. So I doubt either of those. Well, first one isn't a trade. I doubt the trade happens. If it does, it's probably just Arenado, and I doubt Seager goes anywhere. I mean, they might not extend him because I don't know how you're going to afford Arenado and Seager. But yeah, I don't really see either of those happening. But fast forwarding to what we're all hoping for, a 2021 season. Bob Nightingale came out with an article. So I'm going to go over what was basically in it. And I don't know how much of our thoughts we can really give because I feel like we're in agreement. So as of now, executives and owners don't want the season beginning until players receive the vaccination, even if it means pushing the season back until May and shortening the season to 140 games. The Players Association, understandably so, they don't want to push the season back because they had their issue this year. They lost a ton of money. They only got 33% of their salaries. So they want a full season. They want to make their money. But the ownership doesn't think it happens. One of them basically said, no chance in hell do we have a season starting without having every single player vaccinated and staff that is going to be around them. And they already believe that there's no way it starts in February like it usually does. They're thinking it's going to be pushed back. We don't know how far. David Price also agrees. He came out and said, I would love for everyone in MLB to be able to get the vaccine. If that means starting later, then so be it. Hearing everyone talk about how taxing all of that was last year just to play isn't something I think everyone wants to go through again, which I think he's correct. And I get it. Players want to play, but for me, if it's and I'm not the one paying, it's not my money, but like as a safety kind of human all around, everybody needs to be safe. This sounds like the better idea. There's a lot of questions about whether or not MLB can actually force players to take the vaccination. I think it kind of depends what state you're in because certain states like California, you can tell part of employment, terms of employment are certain vaccinations depending on the way they go about it. I don't think they can force fans to take a vaccination because they're not their employers. We're paying out of pocket, or we're not their employees. We're paying out of pocket. But I don't know. There's a lot of questions, but it's hard to really answer them. People keep asking what happens, what's a player going to do when they say they're not taking the vaccine, which great point. No clue what'll happen if they just what do you do if one of the best players in baseball says, I'm not taking a vaccine? I don't want to take it. This hasn't been tested for very long. It hasn't even been out a year and we're just giving it to people. Understandably, there will be people with questions and MLB needs to provide answers. And they're going to have to figure it out because I just find it hard to believe 1,000 people are going to line up and say, okay, let's do it with a vaccine that's barely even been in a trial period for very long. So as a fan, after a 60-game season, I'm all for it. I want the safety of everyone. I don't want anyone getting sick. I don't want anyone. I just want this over with. That's at the end of the day, that's what I want. I want this over with and I want as much of a normal season as we can have in 2021 possible.
Yeah, I was gonna say ditto, pretty much the same thing. I again understand people's questions about it. My thing is, so if it'll be saying you have to take it, if you don't want to take it, then maybe you should sit out the year. Um, it sucks, but I mean that's kind of the decision you're making. And again, I understand that just like people who wanted to sit out this year because they didn't want to catch it. So it's going to be tough to try to figure out a middling ground for this or whatnot. But like if Trout said he's not playing, do they shut down the season? I don't think so. I mean, he's not worth more than everybody or every other MLB team. They still want to make their money. So he probably just have to sit out the year. Obviously, the Players Association isn't going to like that. So that's going to be the interesting part is trying to figure this whole thing out.
So yeah, basically that's what we have on the update for the 2021 season. MLB doesn't know what's going on. Players don't know what's going on. Ownership doesn't know what's going on. So we don't know what's going on, but we will keep you guys updated as more comes out. Quick news around the league. Indians are finally changing their name in 2022. It is about time. This has been a controversial thing for years now. I know there's a lot of people that think it's stupid, don't think it needs to be done. My opinion is if it's not, I don't know how much the people to me that are complaining are the ones who we probably shouldn't be saying anything. Like, I just feel like it's not everyone's place to say whether or not it's offensive. So I kind of feel like we should all just be happy that MLB's trying to do something in the right direction that has been known to be offensive to people. Instead of them just saying, screw it, we're going to keep it. However, they're not changing it, like I said, till 2022. They probably want to sell out all their merchandise first. And they do not have a new name picked out. So don't know what's happening there. Don't know any of the names, but the Cleveland Indians will no longer be a team come 2022. And then we had a couple signings over the last week. Royals keep doing their thing. They signed Carlos Santana to a 2-year, $17 million deal. Then they signed Greg Holland to a 1-year, $2.5 million. They're not big deals, but I never saw the Royals as being the team that was going to come out and sign 4 people in a matter of just a couple weeks as soon as free agency started. So, hey, good for them. Make that AL Central a little bit more difficult. James McCann, which was the biggest signing we've seen in the last week. He got his 4-year, $40 million contract from the Mets. So a lot of people thought it was dumb. Why didn't they just go after Real Muto? Apparently, there's conversations within like the athletic world expert people that are all analysts talking that it maybe leaves them open to now sign like George Springer instead of just getting Real Muto. You now have a decent catcher behind the plate and maybe go get Springer or maybe Trevor Bauer. Some are saying maybe they still get both, which would be wild, but Mets are doing their thing. And then the last one was the Red Sox signed Hunter Renfroe to the 1-year, $3.1 million deal. He was non-tendered by the Rays this offseason, so he didn't really do much. I think he did hit a home run actually off the Dodgers in the World Series, if I remember correctly, but that was about it. All I have to say is I'm glad he's out of the Padres, which I know is irrelevant to this, but like, I don't care. Keep him out of the NL because I will never forget those walk-off home run games that I sat watching when Jansen was pitching. But anyways, that's about it. That's what's been going on for the week. So nothing much.
I did have I know we're running out of time and you've got stuff going on, but real fast. So I saw a post about the 10 longest home runs this season. There were no Dodgers on it, but real quick, without Googling, who do you think on the Dodgers had the longest home run?
I don't know. I feel like I'm going to overthink this, but I want to say, I know this is going to be wrong because it seems obvious, but I wanted to say Rios, but it's probably not.
No, it was Gavin Lux.
Was it
He
really?
hit the furthest home run this year, 453 feet in Colorado. Seager had the next 2 spots at 447, followed by Chris Taylor at 446. Seager was on this list.
The little guys getting it done. I respect it. The skinny little guys. So, hey.
I thought that was funny. I for sure thought it was going to be Rios or Seager, because Seager hit a lot of bombs this year.
Yeah. I was going to say Mookie because he connected on a few. He has that weird power that like you look at him and you think like he wouldn't hit a lot of home runs, and then he just goes out there and he makes it look easy. So
also I expected Muncy to be up there for his home run against, well, he hit a lot of home runs against the Braves, but I think
they count?
Right center.
Did they count the post? Oh, they did? Okay.
The postseason ones they count, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that should be, we'll see what they do next year. All I know is I'm ready for baseball again. I would like for MLB to speed up this free agency. This is pretty boring. I feel like all we're here is talking about minor league deals and then signing like minor signings on other teams. So no disrespect to those players. We got some big ones out there on the market. Let's get it done. I don't need them on the Dodgers. Just give me some type of baseball news that somebody's doing something. But I didn't have anything else to touch on today. Did you?
No, I was going to say especially with Christmas coming up next week, that I hardly doubt there's going to be any news till at least January.
Yeah, we'll probably be struggling for some news, so we will have an episode for you guys next week. It just might be kind of basic, or we'll come up with some content. One thing I do want to remind everybody of, the Dodgers are doing a Zoom party Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Going to have a bunch of the World Series guys in there. Belly, I think, is in there. Seager. Yeah, so if you didn't have anything else to touch on this week, that was it for me. As always, we appreciate you guys listening. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Now we're on TikTok at Dodger Yard. You can find my personal at Randy_Radcliffe on Twitter and Instagram.
You can find personal at Michael Konu, MyKalkonu.
And we appreciate you guys' support, tuning in, listening, subscribing to the podcast, sharing it, all of that. Don't forget to leave a rating and review if you haven't. And we will catch you guys next week. Don't forget, the Dodgers are the 2020 World Series champs. And we hope you guys have a good rest of your day, morning, night, whenever you listen to this. Bye, guys.
See you later, guys.